Good morning, good afternoon. I'm still alive. No, that's not right. I'm not. I'm still healthy. We're all still healthy. We're going through. We had a bit of a wobble. We had a bit of a headache yesterday. I wasn't sure if that was it. I don't know. It's just sitting in like a ticking time bomb. But anyway, if you didn't watch the Monday show, I am. It's not hissy, Darren. It isn't. I've tested it all. I did a broadcast this morning. I'm not putting you on yet, so calm down. Tapping away. I can still see you laughing though. So Monday's show, it was a very long one. Pete was on. Darren turned up halfway through, just wandered in. And it was like an hour and a half nearly. We were just chatting away. What a wonderful Monday it was. And that's just what we needed, I think. But obviously I'm in self-isolation. I'm in isolation, whatever. Going... I don't know what's going on, really, to be honest. But let's do the headlines, and then I'll try and make a little bit more sense when we come back from there. Poor decisions blamed for high UK death figures. A legacy of poor decisions in 2020 and before the pandemic led to 100,000 deaths, scientists said. AstraZeneca defends EU vaccine rollout plan. The pharmaceutical giants said the late signing of contracts limited time to sort out supply glitches. Biden raises election meddling in call with Putin. The Russian leader says his first call... Pete's saying it's hissy now. This is just ridiculous. The Russian leader says his first call with the new US president was business-like and very frank. Contactless payments could rise to £100. The financial regulator will consult shortly on a rise from the current limit of £45 to £100. And I think that's a great idea. So we don't have to touch anybody's dodgy fingers. So let's see who we have on today. Morning, Darren. There he is.
Morning, afternoon.
Afternoon. Is it hissing?
Yeah, it's in between. Every time you speak, there's something strange going on with your
I've had it running to a link. Hi, Grant. How are you?
Hi, Grant.
I've had it running for half an hour this morning with my headphones on, listening to it. So I don't know.
I'm not sure you can hear what's going on though, because it's you stop speaking.
No, I was actually transmitting to the flashback radio test page, and then listening to it on there. There was no hiss at all. So I don't know where this hiss is coming from.
I can hear it too. Awesome.
Can you hear the hiss, Grant?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. Yeah. Try. Have you tried turning your microphone off? And doing it through your
off and on. Well, yeah, we did do that because if I transfer over to the Mac,
it always ends up being tech support.
That's better. That's better.
Gone now.
Yeah, but that's just on the microphone on the Mac.
The quality of the sound is hardly any different.
No.
It really?
Yeah. The microphone on these Macs is really good.
All right, then I'll just get rid of that. Are you sure? I can't believe it's as bassy as...
I'll tell you what we can hear. It's very, very clear, but we can hear your room. So we can obviously hear the reverberation of your room, which you're not getting so much on your mic. Other than that...
Because I've got a. Oh, that's all. So I'm going down now. Hang on.
What's that?
It's my
electric desk.
I've got an electric desk.
Oh,
there we go. And that knocks my lights off. It's all going off today. Pete's saying that's much better. So I charged this up on this fast charger, which has got a massive fan in it. It's not that, is it?
No, it's definitely something. Is when you speak, it is like a gate or a compressor or something that when you speak, it's not there. When you stop speaking, it's almost like it boosts the volume up, or when you're not speaking, so we can hear a hiss. So
that is it's really, really quite weird.
Anyway,
let me get on the phone to him. Let's get on. So got to Wednesday, still feel fine.
That's good.
I don't know. Do we get to the week? Do I find? Is it like? It's all. I'm self-isolating, Grant, as you're aware.
I saw.
Yeah. So is it about Friday, Saturday? If I'm still okay, I'm sort of going to be okay. Do you think? Is that how it works?
No clue.
No clue. It seems to be so random. Some people, you might have it for all you know with no symptoms, and it seems to be really, really varied, doesn't it? The symptoms.
I
And
mean, Dad is fine, absolutely fine. He's
that's
like,
good.
what are you ringing me up again for? I'm seeing how you are. Well, I'm fine. I'll tell you if I wasn't. Okay, fine. All right.
So he's been diagnosed with COVID, but he's got no symptoms.
No, he says he had a headache last week, bit of a tummy upset. I'll go into that, and then he just feels a bit tired in the morning, and by about midday he's fine.
Everybody seems to be the one consistent thing I hear from everybody I know that's had it or got it, because my business partner's got it at the moment. Is the lethargy. They're just so tired, and it just comes and goes. It literally comes and goes. So.
I've had that for years. Then
you had COVID. You brought it in.
It was my fault. That's what it is. So so I don't know. Anyway, everybody's healthy. Tina had a headache yesterday, but it's all good. What I wanted to pick up on today was a couple of things. Obviously, the contactless, which is being put up to £100. Do you think that's... Oh, hello, who's putting that in the background?
Sorry, it's me trying to share. I forgot to share it to...
Oh, okay. That's it, Darren. So, have you shared it now, Darren?
Well, I've shared it in a really rough way, but I literally had to copy the link. He wouldn't let me share it unless I copied the link. Just post the link.
No, because you literally you go to the page it's on. Obviously, we're transmitting, and then just press the share button down here. That's all you do. It's that easy.
That share button.
You haven't got that share button.
I don't think so. I'm just checking now. Carry on. You're very technical this morning.
It is. It's all right. It's fine. We can be technical sometimes. It was all old school on Monday, so we can be a bit more technical today. But Absolutely. The transfer. Hopefully, they're going to do this. The contactless payments, which obviously we use phones for, the card, and also the Apple Watch as well, if you've got it. It's going to go up to £100. I think that's a great idea. I mean, it could.
The Apple Watch hasn't got a limit on it already, though.
No, it hasn't. No, the phone doesn't, does it? As long as they accept Apple Pay.
Yeah, that's the thing that baffled me.
Yeah, can I just say that Samsung doesn't have a limit anyway?
Yeah, I don't think Apple does either.
No, but if it's a normal, but if they don't have, but also if they don't sign up to Apple Pay and display as a transactional device like Visa and MasterCard and Apple Pay, then it's this normal limits. It has to be Apple Pay or whatever Android or Google is for their system.
It's annoying.
They guarantee it.
Yeah, but it's annoying. There's two different systems, because on the Android phone, I think the limit's £30, which is probably similar across the piece. Yeah. And then when you unlock the phone, I think the limit is about £150 or £200 or even more. It's quite high on an Android phone. I think once the phone's unlocked, it deems it safe, i.e., a standard chip and pin card. Where Apple has always been fixed, hasn't it? And it's just annoying that why is there two standards? Why isn't it the same? If you
How do you mean fixed? You mean the limits? Do you mean the limits?
Yeah, the limits are different, aren't they? Android and Apple have always had different limits. No, they have.
No, if you've got to remember, you're only placing your card details into whatever device you've got. Yeah. So if you're just paying at a Visa or MasterCard point, then that's the national limit, which is £45. But then if you're paying by Apple Card, Apple Pay, or whatever the Google equivalent is, they guarantee it if it's higher. So if there's any problems, they guarantee.
Oh, okay. So what you're saying is Sam or Android guarantee it, because I've paid 150 on my Android phone. So,
right, yes, you can do.
Yeah,
as long as they've got that device, yeah.
And they're saying as long as it's unlocked. Okay.
Pete says there's three payment systems. I don't know what the other one is. Pete, let us know what the other payment system is. Obviously, it's Android and Apple, but I'm not sure what the third one is. I'm sure you'll dig that out. But I think that's good. Moving up to £100 just for the card.
Yeah.
As long as there's always that option. Obviously, you get your card stolen, and people just wandering around spending £100 willy nilly. But I suppose you'd stop it, wouldn't you? Anyway.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, but he wants to really talk about that this morning. Right, so...
I mean, they don't have to nick your card to do that anyway, do they? I mean, I've had it before where I've just had random payments. So I had £250 go out of my account 3 times in a row a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
God knows how. Somebody'd scanned my card or whatever. And Barclays were on it straight away. They texted me and they gave me my money back.
Oh, yes, the banks are really good on that. It happened to me a year ago. But you don't have to have clone it. You've only got to, you put your card details in somewhere, and it's and someone's writing them down somewhere else. They can be just lifted and off they go, don't they? It's the problem. But
the funny thing for me though is we don't use it. So we bought a card machine for North Devon site, and the whole of last year we never took one card payment. Not one card payment.
Really?
It's a contactless one as well as a card one. Everybody paid online before they turned up.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were going to say they paid cash. I thought they were
going to say pay cash.
Oh, yeah, and we try and defer that as well because we don't want to leave cash on our sites. But even the people that turned up who hadn't paid got their phone out and paid for it online rather than use the card machine. So bizarre.
Well, you got the I mean, it's. I think the iZettle and the PayPal here, all those systems are great. It's for small businesses who, they don't want to go and get a master account with a credit card or a bank system and get charged a fortune. I think it's brilliant, especially all the street traders and stuff and street food people. That system is excellent. It is
50 quid as well, isn't it? 50 quid for the reader, and that's it. So job done.
Yeah, that's right. So that's quite good. I just want to also quickly talk about. Obviously, we went past the milestone of 100,000 deaths. Was it yesterday we hit? And then when I didn't really, obviously we've seen it getting higher and higher over the past few days, over the past few months really. But then I compared it to other countries like Australia who've had 600 deaths, and you think that's what, and then there's some countries who've only had 10. I know they're smaller populations. Before you jump in there, Dan.
It's not actually. I was going to jump in about Vietnam because Vietnam is one that's. I find it really. Yeah, and they're a bigger population, but I find it really hard to compare. I don't think it's a pointless conversation because you can't compare one country to another for its geography, for its population density in cities, and all that good stuff, and the way that it's dealt with it. I find it really hard, and even to the point where everyone's. The social media side talking about how we are getting these death figures, and I get that they're not accurate. They're not accurate, and we all just have to accept that. There's even my sister has said she knows somebody who died of Parkinson's disease, but yet he went down as COVID. But the reality is, there really is no undermined agenda that's going to suit the government in having a higher death toll. But there isn't. The only agenda they could possibly have is scaremongering to try and make people take it seriously. Other than that. It's not in their interest to have a high death toll. It's not a good league to be the top of. So I don't understand people's premise in saying that it's, I get that it's not accurate, and I don't think it can be. I think it's so hard because the reality is you're not even dying of COVID, you're dying of pneumonia. So how far do you take it? And also because of the amount of people and in the small amount of time frame that people are dying, it'd be another huge mammoth task in actually doing the amount of. I can't think of a better word of than autopsy, but that type of thing, a coroner's type of investigation. It just has to be a stat that we go, it's not good. It's higher than we want it to be, whatever it is. If it's 70,000 or 100,000, it's still too many. And the reality is, if we said, okay, say they got 30,000, right, I'm sure we could all agree that it's not less than that. I think we should all agree that it's impacting us. But it just seems a bit of a mute figure at the moment. Everyone's discussing deaths, and I just don't see the point. I know it sounds really flippant.
Yeah, it's. Sorry, have you sent that to us, Grant? That's weird.
WhatsApp with an article that I found because this kind of interested me. As I've voiced before, my frustration with the whole sort of not knowing. But I found a really informative article that Sky did regarding mortality rates that just really helped me make some sense of it. So I'm not sure whether it's a good idea to sort of share it right now, but it kind of puts it into perspective in terms of how bad it is by comparison. I mean, one thing that I'll pull out, on first sort of looking at it, it's kind of it's showing the deaths when it's using England and Wales adjusted by the population in comparison to the way that it was, over the decades and centuries. And, per 100,000 population, right, this COVID thing has been, minuscule compared to what it was like in 1900s, for example, because technology is so much better now. It's been getting lower and lower and lower and lower, the death rate per 100,000 for years. And the little spike that we've seen in 2020 is it looks insignificant compared to what it used to be. In for example, in 2005, and before that, the death rate per 100,000 was much higher. But that only tells half the story. And what I really like about the article is, you could be quite dismissive of COVID if you saw that graph. But actually, when you look at where the deaths happened in terms of relation to the age, and on a sort of sliding scale, and based on the way that technology was improving, if you take all of that into account, and obviously technology helps us live longer, it's a huge deterioration in the death rate. So it kind of it's a bit misleading in a way. Technology has meant that our sort of tolerance to the amount of people that die is loads lower than it would have been even 20 years ago. So, for example, when we were growing up as kids, the death rate was per 100,000 was loads higher than it is even in this pandemic. And we didn't obviously shut the country down, and because that was where our tolerance. But as technology has improved, we've helped to make people live longer, stay healthier. The tolerance to the amount of people that die gets lower and lower, and therefore exponentially, COVID has been a massive step backwards for us.
I've got one that let me get the chart up here. Actually, I've got one of them up here. Here we go. So you might be able.
It's a good point. That is, Grant. Yeah, I think that's a good point, because if you think about the 70s and the health and safety, and even go back to where we didn't used to have to wear seatbelts or motorbike helmets, and we're only talking the 70s. So the reality is, and also how unsafe the cars were. So I get your view there that we're probably less tolerant to. We expect people to live longer, and we expect.
What we do, we've just our tolerance has lowered. I mean, that's actually that graph that you're looking at there shows the actual number of deaths. Now, if you imagine how big the population is now compared to what it was in the 1800s, it shows that we are so much more the longevity and so much healthier, in this day and age, because there are however many millions that we've got there compared to what there was in 1840. There's another graph that you might want to put up that shows. So what's that one? Deaths in England to Wales.
Wales.
Yeah,
I was just comparing that same comparison there, that line with the ruler. The World War I and World War II. That's quite horrific, though, when you look at that, isn't it?
But do you know what? That doesn't include people that were killed in war. That's
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's I'm going to say
that doesn't include that. So that's the interesting one. So that's adjusted for population. So that really is the real world scenario. That shows how many people died per 100,000 over the last 150 years.
What was the potato blight? What was that? I've never heard of that.
You don't remember the potato blight?
No, I don't remember it. Definitely, it was in 1850. What was it? Was it something to do with lack of potatoes?
Wasn't that the thing in Ireland that they talk about? Where they had the potato famine.
Oh, right. No, okay.
Yeah, I think it was a disease that killed all the potatoes and something like that.
Okay.
My nan's Irish. I remember her talking about it.
Sorry, carry on, Grant. Sorry.
Yeah, so if you look at that graph, it shows that you see that spike at the end. Yeah. We're now per 1,000. We're in the same place that we were in terms of deaths in sort of 2005-ish.
Yeah.
So, but because technology has seen it go lower and lower and lower and lower, as you can see that it was climbing up anyway in the late 2000s.
That's right.
So for whatever reason, but that little spike at the end, I think that kind of puts it into perspective. Our tolerance for death is loads lower than it used to be, and proportionately speaking, across the last 150 years, the amount of people that die per 1,000, even in COVID, is loads lower than it would have been when we were growing up. However, that big spike is significant, and I would guess that if it wasn't for what we were doing in terms of the lockdowns and whatnot, that spike would be a lot higher.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing. Looking back, it's trying to find a similar spike, because the reality is, like you say, and this is what we don't know, is that spike is vertical almost, isn't it? It literally is. If we were to looking at a finance graph here or anything else, that spike would be quite alarming in one way or another. When if there's anything other than lives, we'd see that spike as, if I was looking at it as faults on a help desk or on a financial income, we'd think, well, that's not right. And if that carried on in that strange trajectory.
Look at the one in 1951. That's a massive spike, and that was a flu that happened in 1951. Don't remember seeing much about that on the telly, but that is
you that old, mate.
Spike,
which one? Here is it about here?
No, left.
If you go back left, stop there.
No, right
there.
No, next one. That one. That's it.
See that?
This one here.
Yeah, look to where it was before that.
Yeah. It was like there was. Yeah, that's right.
Interesting. I wonder what they did to resolve that flu. That's quite an interesting one, actually, because that is a phenomenal spike, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah.
But saying that, there's a real trough there as well, though. So I don't.
There's a shift of about 25% as a shift of a shift.
But
swing,
the trend,
as they would say.
I would say the trend is more in the middle, though. So the spike is probably more similar to what we've got now, because I'd imagine that whatever that caused that trough is probably not accurate either. There's probably, I don't know what happened there. All of a sudden, everyone stayed at home and decided to live longer just before the spike. I don't know, it's a bit bizarre, isn't it?
Isn't it interesting, though, looking at the bit towards the end, from sort of 1960 to 2020, a lot more consistency. That's where healthcare and longevity were getting much better. It's going down. Yeah. But who knew that there was quite a significant spike in what looks like 2010? And you see that spike between 2010 and what's probably 2012.
Yeah,
that's about the same size as the spike that we saw in 2020.
It's insane, isn't it?
And
it's bizarre seeing
what caused that, I wonder.
Yeah.
I need to. What I need to research is this potato blight.
It is the potato. So it is the potato famine. So that's where, and what we did is we restricted then how much potatoes we sent over to Ireland, and it basically caused a massive famine in Ireland because the blight is, I think it was like a bug or whatever else that caused a very poor crop. So it's massive. And Ireland and rightly so, never forgiven the British for that because it caused so many deaths.
Just before we, because we're just coming up to the end of the show, there's another story that I didn't read out earlier, which was about the HS2. We did talked about HS2 last year when it was sort of getting into major production or build. But there is protesters who have dug a tunnel, or they're inside a tunnel, where they're building the HS2 in just outside Houston, and they've had to stop digging. They've had to stop everything. What are your thoughts on this? Because I'm really for the HS2, but the people I speak to, they were sort of getting they've all got a bit angry and shirty about it, saying, oh, well, it's destroying trees and wildlife will never go back to normal. But from what I'm seeing around here, yes, there is a swathe going through the land, but they'll put everything back to normal. They're not just going to leave it messed up and concrete. I mean, they are literally just cutting the way through. What's everybody's thoughts on that?
Mine's twofold. I personally don't see the benefit versus cost of HS2. I'm all for investing in infrastructure, and even when I think about trying to think what his name was, the chap who got rid of all the railways in the 60s. There was a guy that just went basically shutting down railways in all. So Bude used to have a railway that got shut down. And realistically, I'd rather see that money invested in trying to make them railways reopen and invest in what we've got. HS2 for me to have another line that just reduces it by 40 minutes. I know that's not quite what it does. As far as the sort of environment's concerned, I get it. I do get it, but I'm all for progress as well. So it's a double-edged sword with me. I think we should invest in our infrastructure. The Victorians did us proud, and we seem to have sat on our laurels ever since. So we need to do something, but we just can't seem to do anything for an appropriate cost. It's just like, how much is that going to cost? 40 billion. Okay, and then it's like 200 billion. I don't know what it's up to now, but it's just like
it is quite.
We can't seem to be able to manage anything. But yeah, I don't know. From an environment perspective, it's hard on. I don't know. My
got
house
to move
hasn't been
forward
knocked
though.
out.
We've got to, yeah. I mean, you've got to move forward. But I just, from what it's like, I can't even say how wide it is. It's probably about 20 meters wide, 15 to 20 meters wide. What the actual, what they're digging up. But either side of it is all fine, and they're going to put it back to normal. I mean, Grant, what's your
I don't know
thoughts
about
on it?
that. Sorry, just to jump in there, Matt. Only because where Malbex is, the garden centre, not far from you.
Yeah.
It's massive there. That what they're doing there is it's absolutely
but that's the station.
huge.
That's
Is
the
it?
station.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's where they're building the station for the NEC. That's by Birmingham Business Park, just there. And yes, they have. Yeah, that's a massive area. But the actual train line itself doesn't look very wide to me for what they're digging. Okay. Grant, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think there's several arguments with this. I used to share an office actually with the company that were managing it, HS2, in Birmingham, and they were French company.
Of course.
And there's been and I remember meeting with the guy who ran the place on several occasions, just socially, and he never knew whether he had a job or not half the time, because honestly, it kept swinging one way or the other. Are they going to do it? They're not going to do it. As it, there was all sorts of talk about it. But my personal view was, I thought it was, and I don't consider myself overly qualified to get into the nitty gritty of it. But from what I read, it seemed to be preposterous how much money they were spending on it. It's the most expensive railway per meter anybody's ever built in the world ever. Which doesn't stack up. Plus, they gave it to a foreign company to actually construct. Why they would do that, I don't know. Especially if we were leaving the EU, surely you'd want to keep the money in the country, given that we were having to go it alone, so that seemed preposterous. The environmental side of it, it's never very nice when somebody's house gets knocked down, or I've seen some amazing trees that got pulled, beautiful old trees that got pulled down as a result. But on the flip side, it is progress, and then you look at the actual, the reason why they're doing it. I mean, let's face it, for the link from Birmingham to London is already really good as far as I can see. We can jump on a train just down the road from here and be in London in 1 hour 40 minutes. If I get it from the NEC 10 minutes down the road, I'll be there in 1 hour 10 minutes. It's going to knock about 15 minutes off the journey. So I don't quite see the point of that. Linking the north to London, I can, and making that an express link, I can see the economic benefit of that. But that was the one they were talking about cancelling. So
my thoughts was that
point.
It's the north section is needed, but yes, I mean you're right, Grant. It's an hour and 40 minutes, and we're there from where we are at the moment. I think actually it's quicker than that. Actually, sometimes if you get the one which doesn't stop at many stations, it's really quick. But we've got to move forward, and we've got to have cleaner. But they're not cleaner, are they? Are they electric trains?
Don't know.
I don't know much about the actual trains. It's the train line, isn't it? I mean, I love the train. It's brilliant because you can work on the train. You can relax and get stuff done. And bringing our major cities close together, was a big thing, wasn't it? Yeah. About 18 months ago. I'm not quite so sure it's as important anymore. From an individual point of view, you're down in, Devon or Cornwall, wherever it is. Darren's it? Yeah. Devon or Cornwall? I can't remember.
Cornwall. Yeah.
Cornwall, yeah. We're in the Midlands. We could have people from all over the place. And I think from an infrastructure point of view, if it's like freight and transporting of goods, then obviously that's something that you can't dilute. But when you look at what's going on in terms of the Cybertruck. Have you seen what Elon Musk's putting together? When those things start being manufactured, they work like a train. You can have a convoy of Cybertrucks that are super clean, really economical, and the drag coefficient of having them in a row. Surely that's better than putting a train in.
Well, I'm just reading up here. They are going to be electric. HS2 trains will be highly energy efficient and powered by a grid that uses increasing amounts of energy from zero carbon sources, renewable, solar, wind generation. So in the future, the grid supplying it will be 100% zero carbon. So
big promise.
Journeys on HS2 will be zero carbon, they say. So they are electric, basically. That's what they're saying.
I think that I always
then it can get two people on. The rest of it's batteries.
And it has to recharge every 50 miles. The only thing I'd say in their defence, when people say, and I look at it and say it's going to knock off whatever how many minutes off a journey, it's not just about that; it's about capacity as well.
Yes.
So you got a train to London and it's rammed. So there's 2 trains now, and one of them that's doing it in half the time. So it's going to get there and back twice as often. So it's twice as many people. So there is a capacity issue. Just on trains, before we move on off trains. I only saw a glimmer of this, and I think it'd be really interesting to look at. I didn't realise you can pay to go round old tube stations in London, and you can actually
the
pay
derelict
for the
ones.
tour. Yeah, the derelict ones. But now, apparently, because you can't go and do it, there's virtual. You can go and pay to have virtual tours to go around these derelict tube stations. So it might be worth something to look up for a show. But it did look fascinating. Just caught it at the end of a news article on TV. But I
did that for real, Darren, when I was in lockdown, and when we were in lockdown, and I went on the tubes. They were all derelict. I did it on this show, remember?
Yeah, I did.
That's right. Yes. That was true. That's very true. I've just picked up something. I'll see if I can pull up some stuff on that, because I do like those subway underground stations that are derelict, but they're still sat there.
They're really cool.
Yeah,
but back to business though, it's they're actually changing their business model because they can't take them down to actually virtual tours, so they've gone and done it with headsets. So great bit of business knowledge there to be able to go down and still keep it going. I like that.
Oh, do you know what that's reminding me for Friday, Matt? I've got a request.
Okay, mate.
Can we talk about virtual reality on Friday?
Yeah. Well, yes, what a great idea. Let's do that. We do that. And let's see. Because what I'd really like to see is virtual reality and segways. That'd be ace. It could be anywhere, just going along as long as it's safe. But I've had my. I won't talk about it briefly now. We'll talk it Friday. But I've got one of those iPhone headsets. You put the phone in. But I did use one of those the Oculus systems. Over summer last year. They are awesome. Have you got them?
Game changer.
Has anybody tried the PS4 VR? I've got one, and it is mind blowing. It's absolutely it's mind blowing. It really is.
The Oculus one is just great.
It's Ready Player One, honestly.
Have you got the Grant? You got the one that's all built in?
Yeah. We've got 2 of them. I've got one for it, and I've got mine on order as well. I'm getting one for myself.
Oh, okay. Look at you. So let's do VR on Friday. That's what a perfect end to the show. So we'll be here Friday, and we'll be doing some virtual reality news. So let's all dig out some virtual reality news. That'd be great. And let's see what people are doing, because obviously that's going to be big. It's going to be big, isn't it? Cool.
I've got some. My part of BT. I've got some good things I'll show you on Friday. But basically, VR in ambulances. That's what we're doing at BT at the moment.
Okay.
The virtual ambulance. So basically, the surgeon back in the hospital.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's what's going on.
Do you know what I'm trying to do? My game developer for my gaming company, he's a VR specialist, and the reason I'm so excited about it is I want to get. We've done an AR version or augmented reality of our game, but I want to do a VR version of it, and that's his speciality. I should try and get
a plug, Grant. Is it the Popping Pest one?
Yeah.
So
I should try and get him on the show, because his speciality is virtual reality, and he does all sorts of stuff. All sorts of different things. People will employ him to do virtual training for people that just want to fix boilers or whatever it might be. That he will build the virtual reality, and they'll do all their training in virtual reality.
Right.
We'll talk about this Friday. Hold it all there, because I've seen that.
I'm really excited by it.
I've seen it where they're all sat around desks and having a virtual meeting. That's quite cool as well, and everybody sat there because they've all got cameras on the top of the virtual headsets as well. So it's going to be brilliant. Right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Great show. Nice and tight today, so that's brilliant. We will see you all on Friday. See you soon.
See you Friday.